One Dawn shard is different from all the rest.
There's also a Maxwell equation that isn't like the others. Okay, so in general, review. Maxwell's equations describe how electric and magnetic fields are generated by charges, currents, and changes of the field. Except for one. Maxwell's second equation, Gauss's law for magnetism. I have to go by my notes because I haven't looked at this stuff since college. Okay, really simply put, Gauss's law for magnetism states the divergence of a magnetic field is always zero. What does that even mean? It's this. So basically, the output and the input have to be the same. So as long as the same amount is being output in the magnetic field and the same amount is coming in the other side, you get zero, no change to the output or loss of energy in the field. Okay, but why is this important to the Cosmere? I'm with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense initially, but here we go. We're going to get into it. A big question for me has always been if the spiritual realm in the Cosmere is everywhere, just like Shadesmar or the cognitive realm is everywhere. Where is the power going in and out? Like, if people were using investiture and just using it up, it would disappear. And that would make this equation not equal to zero. So in all of the Cosmere as a whole, or per planet, which is what I think, they have to equal out. The amount that people are using must kind of get recycled back into the spiritual realm and pulled from again. So if you think about the magnet, the power coming in is from the spiritual realm and it has to be recycled back to the spiritual realm at the end. That's the only way this works, or we would be leaking investiture and eventually run out. It would become a finite resource, like an ecosystem gone horribly awry. The best example I can think of this from the books is the perpendicularities. So we see with Dalinar's perpendicularity, he's recharging all of the spheres. He's bringing in more stormlight without the storm to charge everybody up, keep it going. And then as people use it, it's recycled back to the spiritual realm. This is, I mean, there is no better example. But why is this important? Yeah, no, I hear you. So when we're talking Dawn shards, it's commands that created the Cosmere, right? So if one of the fundamental laws of Cosmere physics is that all energy must be recycled and it's in its own ecosystem, what are we defining as an ecosystem? So I used to think about this as the entirety of the Cosmere, but that's so abstract and crazy. Like, how is that even working? Because where does the power come in? Where does it go out? What is equilibrium in that case? Can we have a bulge on one side? And like, it gets really messy. So what I'm thinking of is just like planets have poles. And scientifically, we know from magnets, if you chop a magnet in half, right? You're not going to get just the north half. You're not going to get just the south half. The chopped in half magnet will also now have a north and south pole. We can take that to divide up the Cosmere. So, Roshar, as an example, has a north pole to the electrical magnetic field and a south pole, and just on the planet alone, that investiture is recycled. Again, why is this important? I'm totally with you. Have you ever wondered how Ashen got burned up? So Dawn shards, along with being the commands that kind of describe physics in the Cosmere, allow the wielder to basically destroy the power scale. With intent and holding the Dawn shard, you can channel an insane amount of investiture, which is why they're so dangerous. It's why Risen really had to be tested. They had to know that she was the right kind of candidate who wasn't going to use this for crazy shit. I postulate because this is how Ashen fell, causing everyone, spoilers, everyone in Ashen to come to Roshar because their planet completely got destroyed. Okay, Stormlight 5. We have either one or two Dawn shards present on Roshar. We know one. We know Risen's got one from the novella Dawn shard. I see hints in the text that we're referring to more than one, which makes this catastrophically more important. What happens when the magnetic field is thrown off and a crazy influx of power just surges? Things are about to get crazy. Now, I got a really cool comment on my last video from a person named Pattern, A+, adore you. Okay, so I know that this one's crazy with science, but okay. So we have these shard bodies. We have the Miss of Atium, the Miss and Atium. We have the I am convinced, and so is Melissa, the honor blades are the body of honor. Why are they there? What's going on? Honestly, I was kind of thinking of the bodies of the gods as their excrement, because God shows up and all of a sudden these little nuggets of power start showing up all over the place. And honestly, I have hamsters, so when I think nuggets after something shows up, I'm thinking hamster poop. So there you go. But Patterned, you glorious human, put it into the context for me. They said the word seeds, okay? I love this. So theoretically, blank planet, just bopping along, no investiture. One of our shard gods shows up, seeds the planet with their body, and this starts the perpendicularity cycle, which is why all planets have these access points into the different realms. That is how the cycle starts. God shows up, seeds the planet, power starts coming in from the spiritual realm, and it, on each planet, it's different. It's going to find a way to recycle it back and continue the cycle of renewal. That is what I 100% believe this means. But Dawn shards overloading the circuit explodes, we have Ashen. If this is one of the Dawn shards, it is the biggest clue we have to quite a few other things. So one of the big questions we all have is, why is Kelsier stuck? Well, if he's a being of the cognitive realm, he no longer has a physical body. His entire essence is tied into this cycle, this planetary cycle of investiture, rebirth, and dispersal, right? Right. Well, it would take infinite energy to break the investiture away because it's so enwrapped in this cycle. So this could be the force that's bonding Kelsier in place. It also could be the force that there's a whole bunch of comments about how it's really hard to take Stormlight off of Roshar. Like after a while it starts fading. I would argue that's because it's leaving the magnetic pole of the planet and can't sustain itself. A whole lot of implications for this. Now, you might be going, okay, Rachel, but we see Vasher operating on Roshar. I am totally with you. Okay. What I think the Nihal bond is its own teeny tiny, infinitesimal, can't measure it, perpendicularity. So, when you have something like the Nihal bond, and we have in the preview chapters from Secret Project 5, we have a being that's clearly from Roshar operating off-world because their Nihal bond allows a teeny tiny perpendicularity to cycle through their power. They become their own system. And that's how they can move. I would argue it would be someone who has to be highly invested, not like a shard, but like type 2 and beyond, to be able to create this little mini paradox and go through as its own little ecosystem. But that's probably how it is. With Vasher in particular, however, we have a lot of comments in the text about how you need a connection to the planet to be able to consume the investiture from that planet. So when these characters are going between worlds, I think they're forming the connection to insert themselves into this ecosystem per planet. And that's how everything works. The only problems I see with this are when you're traveling between planets, which might be why interstellar travel is so difficult. But again, something like the Nihal bond, I'm pretty sure you could start your own little cycle. It wouldn't be very powerful, wouldn't be very strong. I don't think you'd have all your powers, but I think it would work.